In today's video, we'll talk about Bernie Ecclestone, a former F1 boss who is facing fraud charges worth $700 million. Eccleston sold the rights to F1 to US-based Liberty Media for $4.6 billion. Although 86 at the time of the sale and 91 now, he still somehow managed to stay in the news in the past 5 years. So stay till the end of the video to find out all about it. Alright, so let's talk about the whopping $700 million. Bernie Ecclestone is rich, and we mean really rich. So unlike us regular folks out there, his money isn't all just sitting in a bank or under his mattress. His money is spread out all around the globe. His finances are complex and vague, to say the least. He has assets in several countries in several forms. This is how he's protecting his money from robbers and the tax man. However, a person can have complex finances all the while staying within the realms of the law. But it seems like Mr. Eccleston may have gotten a tad bit too greedy, because now he's being accused of fraud. And this is not the first time he's been challenged by the law, but we'll talk about that later on. Bernie Ecclestone is facing fraud charges of up to 400 million British pounds. That's roughly 700 million Australian dollars. That seems like a lot of money, even for a billionaire. So how did this come to happen? Did he just steal a cool 700 mil out of nowhere? Well, no, not really. The actual story is a little bit more boring than an elaborate heist. He just misrepresented $700 million worth of assets to the British government. But he didn't steal anything. It's his money. He just didn't tell the government about it. Is that so bad? Well, yes. Firstly, he did this to dodge taxes, which is, illegal. Secondly, losing out on millions of pounds of tax revenue isn't a good look for the government. Neither does it set the right example for aspiring tax evaders. These charges against the 91-year-old are brought forward by the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, but they didn't just appear out of thin air. The announcement of these charges against the former F1 boss was followed by a months-long investigation by Her Majesty Revenue and Customs, HMRC. Andrew Penhale, the chief Crown prosecutor, stated that HMRC brought the evidence, which was then reviewed thoroughly by the CPS. Once the evidence was sufficient, only then the charges were authorized. According to the investigation, Bernie Ecclestone failed to declare assets worth $700 million to the HMRC. Now, let's talk about whether there'll be consequences. It seems like there will be consequences. They might not let him away with a slap on the wrist like they usually do. Here's the thing. There's a global commodity shortage, a global chip shortage, and let's not forget what the Russian-Ukraine war is doing to the markets. Because of these problems, petrol, electricity, natural gas, and other commodities are at the highest price they've been for more than a decade. This is completely devastating economies worldwide. Inflation all around the world is super high. What is that doing to the people? It's making them angry. They may have ignored it before, but if people now see a billionaire not facing the consequences of tax evasion, they might just come out and protest heavily. Because of this, CPS has reminded folks that this will be a fair trial. The first hearing of this trial will be held at the Westminster Magistrates Court on the 22nd of August, 2022. The trial will proceed and the two parties will fight it out in court. It won't be an easy one this time for Bernie. The prosecution will try to butcher him in court because they can't be seen favoring a billionaire over the common man. But of course, all of this is just speculation at the moment. This case won't be easy. Simon York of HMRC has stated that this investigation is extremely complex and of an international scale. HMRC has clarified that Eccleston will have to pay. Considering the current British political climate and the global rise of inflation, HMRC is going to want to make sure people aren't too angry with their reactions. They have also made it a point to state that no one is beyond their reach. This time around, Bernie Ecclestone, a man who's worth close to $3 billion US, may not be able to use his connections and his wealth to get away. It seems like the prosecution is out to get him, but at this time we can't know for sure. So make sure you stay tuned to find out more about this case as it unravels. Of course, a lot of people are speculating that he'll get away with it again. After all, he's gotten away with things like this before. Let's talk about that for a moment. So, how has he gotten away before? This is not the first time the 91-year-old has found himself in the middle of controversy. He's tax dodged, gotten arrested for carrying a weapon, and he's also been scrutinized for his racist and problematic comments. Bernie has messed with the HMRC before as well. He was able to pull off one of the largest tax dodges in the UK's history, and despite being investigated thoroughly, he got away with it, scot-free. So here's what happened, folks. Mr. Eccleston wanted to transfer the rights to F1 to his family's trust. If he had done that properly, that is, legally, he would have paid close to $2 billion in tax. Of course, course, he didn't want to pay that much, no one ever does. So he opened up an offshore company under his wife's name. Then he proceeded to transfer the rights to her as a gift. Transferring an asset as a gift means you may not have to pay a lot of tax on it. Now, here's where it gets interesting and extremely complex. So once the asset was under his wife's name, she transferred it back to his family trust in Liechtenstein, a tax haven. However, reports say that he pulled this off by bribing a German banker with $25 million for him to hide their offshore company. Sound shady? Yeah, that's because it is. He was let go that time. Will he be let go this time? We don't know, but stay tuned to find out. Now let's talk about another time he locked horns with the law, but this time it wasn't financial. Let's also talk about some more news coming from the world of F1 that isn't, hopefully, about fraud. Now time for some other news. Firstly, Bernie has also been arrested on gun charges. Bernie Ecclestone is a 91-year-old dude. Yeah, people expect it when he's charged with financial fraud, but being arrested on gun charges? That's a little off, even by his standards. He was arrested directly at the airport in Brazil. Airport security found an unlicensed .32 caliber LWC camp pistol in his luggage during a check. He was flying private, so not that big of a problem, but still quite a problem. He was released shortly on bail. The gun wasn't loaded and it didn't have a magazine either. He was charged with carrying a firearm in contravention of the law. According to Bernie, he bought that gun off of an F1 mechanic several years ago and didn't know who it was originally licensed to. Now let's talk about the chaos over at Ferrari. Ferrari has had a wonderful yet messy 2 weeks. Carlos Sainz won the British Grand Prix, but he did so because Ferrari didn't let Charles Leclerc pass him by. Leclerc finished 4th in that race. Since Leclerc is Ferrari's main contender for the championship, people had issues with Ferrari's strategy. Then next week, Leclerc won the Austrian Grand Prix. Good for him and Ferrari. But Carlos Sainz's car went all up in flames and he didn't finish the race. Yeah, it seems like a lot is going on over at Ferrari. But hey, at least their strategy is all clear now. They should be letting Leclerc pass Sainz from now on. Lastly, sacked race director finally breaks the silence. Former F1 race director Michael Massey has left the FIA. This happened because the FIA found that human error was responsible for the disastrous Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The incorrect application of rules by Massey led to Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton losing his record 8th title. Max Verstappen won the race and the championship instead. This was extremely controversial as Mercedes fans implied foul play. When all of this was announced, FIA stated that he left the FIA to relocate to Australia to be closer to his family. However, just 1 day ago, Massey finally broke his silence. However, he still didn't mention the botched Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He stated, "Having worked on various projects around the world with the FIA and its member clubs for over 10 years before my appointment, I have now decided to leave and relocate back to Australia to be closer to my family and friends." He also mentioned how much support he's gotten from fans and how overwhelmed he is. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. So what's going to happen? Will Eccleston face the consequences of his actions this time around? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. Bye.